World War II, the largest war the world has ever seen, which began in 1939 with Germany's invasions and ended in 1945 with Japan's defeat. The most powerful countries in the world came together and formed two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis powers. So, what were the reasons for the war in which the entire world attacked each other mercilessly and cost 50 million lives? Come on, let me explain in more detail. Germany had been defeated in World War I, its army limited to 100,000 soldiers, and it was forbidden to use aircraft and ships. As a result of all this, Germany's economy collapsed in the 1920s, and the people blamed this on the Treaty of Versailles. Everything started when Adolf Hitler became the head of the Nazi Party, claiming that the German race was superior, that Germany was not in its rightful place, and promising to reclaim the territories lost after World War I. Immediately after Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, the German economy grew rapidly. After stabilizing the economy, Hitler began efforts to free the land, sea, and air forces from the restrictions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. As a result of these efforts, large tonnage warships, submarines, and armored land combat vehicles began to be produced. In addition, the army was increased beyond 100,000 in violation of the Treaty of Versailles. To prevent Germany from rearming, the United Kingdom, France, and Italy had consulted among themselves and formed a front called Stresa. However, after a while, the United Kingdom reached an agreement with Germany, allowing it to have warships other than submarines up to 35% of the total naval force, and the Stresa front collapsed. This was one of the most serious mistakes on the road to war. Next was the incorporation of regions inhabited by German-speaking populations into German territory. The first step of this idea was the annexation of Austria by the German army on March 12, 1938. However, no country in Europe raised its voice against this invasion. Encouraged by this, the next target was the Sudetenland within Czechoslovakian territory. The United Kingdom's Prime Minister Arthur Neville Chamberlain wanted to pursue a peaceful policy and meet Hitler to prevent a new world war. As a result of this meeting, the Sudetenland was given to Germany through the Munich Agreement signed on September 29, 1938, under Hitler's pressure. On October 1, 1938, German forces occupied the Sudetenland, where more than 50% of the population was German, without using any weapons. Until these events, Adolf Hitler had not used any weapons while executing his strategy. Only one problematic region remained, the Danzig region. The Danzig region, given to Poland by the Treaty of Versailles, still cut off the land connection between East Prussia, which was under German control, and Germany. At the end of 1938, Germany demanded a land corridor through the Danzig region from Poland to use for land access. Although it proposed some land from South Prussia in exchange, Poland refused. As a result, Hitler decided to attack Poland. Previously, France and England had stated that any claim by Germany over European territory would be considered a cause for war. However, Hitler was confident that no one would start a full-scale war over a small area like Danzig. On the morning of September 1, 1939, German armies crossed the Polish borders. Using blitzkrieg tactics for the first time, the German army quickly broke through Polish lines and occupied the western part of the country. The United Kingdom and France, who had previously said that an attack on Poland would be a cause for war, did not remain silent this time, and on September 3rd, the United Kingdom, and a day later France, declared war on Germany. However, before British and French troops could arrive, units of the Soviet Red Army attacked Poland's eastern borders on September 17, 1939, and began occupying Poland from the east. Caught between two fires, Poland surrendered on October 5, 1939. Not stopping there, Soviet leader Stalin, in a note sent to the Baltic countries, demanded that governments friendly to the Soviet Union come to power, and immediately afterwards the Red Army entered the territories of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Within a month, the governments that came to power through general elections held in these countries decided to join the Soviet Union. Thus, at the end of World War II, these territories, which had been taken over by the new Soviet government, were regained. However, the Soviet Union did not stop there and crossed the Finnish border, with which it had previously signed a non-aggression pact, and attacked the country. Before declaring war on the Soviets, France and the United Kingdom sent an army of 100,000 to Finland to fight there. However, unexpectedly, Norway and Sweden, fearing the Soviets, did not allow these troops to pass through their territories. This was a situation that France and the United Kingdom had not anticipated. After the brief Finland-Russia War, Russia, having occupied a small part of Finland, reached an agreement with Finland to end the war. However, Finland decided to join World War I on Germany's side, hoping to reclaim the lost territories. Thus, the world suddenly divided into three groups. Having achieved his initial goals in Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Poland, Adolf Hitler knew he would need a large amount of weapons as the war spread westward. The steel coming from Sweden was crucial to ensure that weapons production would not be disrupted. Worried that the Allied forces might cut off the supply of Swedish steel, Hitler immediately ordered the invasion of Norway. The shortest route to Norway was through Denmark. For this, German motorized units quickly entered Denmark and occupied it. At the same time, Allied forces had dispatched troops by sea to land in Norway. However, German forces moved so quickly that Norway was occupied in just 1.5 months. This was a failure for the Allied forces. On the same day, the German attack unexpectedly turned westward. Dark and disastrous days were approaching for Europe and the entire world.